Okay, hi guys, Bert here. So River Modern pricing is finally out, and the numbers put it straight into the middle of the current District 9 new launch cluster, starting in the high 2008 PSF range and moving into the lower 3000 band for the larger units. So recent launches have also been pushing PSF higher for bigger units, and we are seeing the same pattern here. In the previous video, we broke down the framework, land cost, positioning, and what to watch. Now that the pricing and layouts are confirmed, we can move from theory to actual judgment. So the question now isn't whether River Modern looks good on paper. The real question is, at these prices, does it actually make sense? And in this video, we'll go through the pricing versus break-even, layouts, and how River Modern stacks up against nearby launches like River Green, Zion Grand, and Promenade Peak. Most importantly, we'll talk about this project, how is it likely to behave over time, especially with several developments in the area completing within a similar window. By the end, you should have a very clear sense of who this project works for, who it doesn't, and what you need to watch if you're considering a unit here. Okay, before we go into the numbers, let's quickly frame where River Modern sits. This is a 99-year project in District 9 right next to the Great Wall MRT. It has a full river frontage and developed by Gokoland, a acclaimed developer. So it's not positioned as a lowest entry launch. It's meant to sit within the current District 9 pricing band, along the recent projects that were launched like River Green, Zion Grand, and Promenade Peak. Which means the real question whether is it premium or is it priced reasonably relative to its cost base and relative to what buyers are already paying for nearby. And that's where the break-even comparison becomes important. Okay, let's start with the pricing. So River Modern is launching its 2 bedrooms from about 1.45 M. So starting price at 2877 PSF. 3 bedrooms from 2.29 M, around 2883 PSF, and the 4 bedrooms from about 4.58 M, moving into the low 3K PSF range. So overall, the project sits within the high 2.8K to low 3.1K PSF band. Now the key question is how this compares to cost. So estimated break-even cost comes in roughly around 2570 PSF. First, this is not a cheap land project. Developer bought this site at about 1420 PSF PPR. So there isn't actually much room to price significantly below the market. Secondly, the launch pricing isn't stretched very far above cost either. So don't expect River Modern to be launched as a bargain. But it's also not being pushed aggressively beyond the market range. Instead, it's positioned to sit within the existing D9 pricing band rather than trying to lead it. At around the high 2.8 to low 3K PSF range, River Modern is launching with a reasonable margin over break-even. Not cheap, but very much in line with where nearby projects are already transacting. Another factor influencing pricing is the unit mix. About 61% of the units are 3-bedroom and larger. So this is clearly a project skewed towards owner-occupiers rather than small investor units. So when you see a development leaning towards bigger units like this, it's quite common to see PSF for those larger formats to be priced slightly at a premium. So the pricing pattern here isn't actually unusual. It's actually quite aligned with how the newer D9 projects are being structured. So now let's place River Modern within the current launch cluster because we actually have seen quite a few launches over the last quarter, and because pricing here doesn't exist in isolation, buyers are comparing across several projects in this same stretch. If you look at the recent launches around the Great Wall and River Valley area, we actually see Zion Grand transacting at about 3,000 per square foot, River Green hitting 3,001 PSF, Promenade hitting 2,009 close to 3,000 per square foot. So River Modern sits right inside that same band. So it's not trying to undercut the market, but it's also not trying to lead the pricing either. It's positioned very much in the middle of the cluster. But the important point is that these projects unidentical. So if we look at the comparison between River Modern and River Green, since they are sitting side by side against each other in the same cluster, we see that River Green actually leans heavily on efficiency and lower entry quantum. Only 27% of its units are 3-bedroom and larger. So it was actually designed to appeal more to buyers looking for a lower starting check size. And River Modern here takes a different approach. About 61% of the units are 3-bedroom and above, with larger layouts and private lift access for the 4-bedroom units. So this project is clearly skewed towards owner-occupiers and long-term holders. That difference in unit mix already tells you that these two projects are targeting slightly different buyers. So now let's take a look at the layout since it is already confirmed from the developer. So instead of going through, boring you through every layout, let's focus on one that actually represents the core positioning. So we look at this 3-bedroom at a 1098 square feet, which is actually the show flat unit. And this is a good example of what the developer is trying to achieve. The living and dining frontage is actually relatively wide at 5.5 meters. And the bedroom sizes are practical. You can fit a king, queen, no issue. And overall, the layout feels very aligned with the owner-occupier expectations rather than what you see a compact investor format. The last landscape layout that we actually saw was in Zion Grand, also giving a 5 meters. However, for Zion Grand, we actually had a structure here which was actually blocking the view towards the outside. And if you look at the kitchen, what I like is there's actually a flexi room over here. You can actually enclose this into a helper's room or even to break the whole thing down to make it actually into a big kitchen. You can actually set up an island kitchen over here, make it more luxurious. And if you look at the corridor area over here, the developer has also shortened the corridor and moved the 3rd bedroom down. This actually reduces space wastage. And very Guacoland layout lah. You have the 3rd bedroom over here, which is away from the flexi room if you have a helper, which makes it a little bit less slightly convenient. And at the top end, we have the 4-bedroom flagship at 1830 square feet. This is really the epitome of riverfront, river valley living. You have the super huge living, separate dining area, which you can even fit a round sitting dining table as well, right? And what is interesting here is developer actually gave you an option of the household shelter, and yet if you notice, you still do have a store here. So of course, with a 4-bedroom, you probably would have a helper. So given that the helper could go either one, you actually still have that storeroom for excess storage. Yard area, kitchen, very good size. And developer has actually given a powder room, surprisingly not at the side, the corridor. And this is actually access for your guests, right? So that this other bathroom becomes a junior ensuite as well. And looking at this layout, what I feel is actually quite pity lah. Okay, so the person who is paying for this unit would probably stay in the master bedroom over here. And if you do notice, you do not actually have a full view of the, of course this is river facing lah. And instead, what you're getting is bedroom 2, bedroom 3 and a junior master, all with the riverfront view. But then you are compensated with a very luxurious walk-in wardrobe, which is about 5 square meters. So now let's talk about the supply within this area. Of course, again, we have Riverfront, Zion Grand, Promenade Peak, and River Modern coming up. And most of these projects are likely to TOP within roughly a 1 to 2 year window of each other. This means several newer developments will enter the resale and rental market around the same time. That doesn't automatically mean that prices will fall, but buyers will actually have more choices. And when choices increase, people do compare more closely. Views, layouts, developer, livability. So in a cluster like this, differentiation becomes very important. So that being said, River Modern does have to differentiate itself from the other competitors. So what it has is river frontage views. So almost 70% of units have river views. It also has a higher occupier owner skew. Right, so more than 61% of the units are actually 3 bedrooms and up. So what it also means again is that this is a very owner stay focused unit. It also has larger layouts compared with its competitors in the area. River Green has got its 4 bedrooms at 980 square feet, but River Modern has got 4 bedrooms starting from 1004 onwards. And oversupply itself doesn't actually hurt a project. But what matters is whether this project actually stands out within that supply. So unit selection here will actually matter a lot. Okay, so where does this then leave River Modern? At its current pricing, this isn't going to be a bargain launch, let's be realistic. But it's also not going to be aggressively priced relative to where your surrounding market is already at. But when you look at the land cost, positioning and layout strategy, this project feels fairly calibrated. It's not trying to win on the lowest entry price, but it's trying to appeal to buyers who want a central location with more livable internal space and a very strong owner-occupier profile. And for buyers comfortable with that quantum and looking for a longer-term hold, River Modern is actually shaping up to be one of the more sensible launches within this cluster. It's not going to be the cheapest project here, but with the right entry unit and the right entry point, it actually has the fundamentals to hold its position over time. Alright, so that's my breakdown of River Modern, and now that the pricing and layouts are out, as always, don't just look at headline price. You have to look at the land cost, positioning, and your exit strategy. And if you value clear data-driven property analysis without the hype, do like the video and subscribe. I don't just review launches, I help you plan your next move properly, because the right move isn't just about property, it's about planning. I'll see you at the next one.